Hello?
Hello.
Yes. In 1 minute more, we will start the program, okay?
So you have to tell me when to introduce myself.
Yes, I will tell you.
Okay.
1 minute more, only. Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite aos internautas que nos acompanham neste programa Nanoalerta, hoje no seu número 227. Fazemos este programa dedicado ao público não especialista, porque é este público que paga as pesquisas sobre nanotecnologia do Brasil. Também fazemos este programa porque é aqui que nós podemos discutir os impactos da nanotecnologia na sociedade, no meio ambiente, na saúde, na economia, coisa que não são discutidas aonde se faz nanotecnologia no Brasil. Por fim, fazemos este programa porque acreditamos que ser livre é ser bem informado e a divulgação científica contribui, colabora para o aprofundamento da democracia e da cidadania no Brasil. Hoje, conforme tínhamos anunciado, estamos conectados com o professor SEMEER, diretamente dos Estados Unidos. Eu vou pedir a ele para ele se apresentar e depois ele vai falar sobre o tema de curativos tecnológicos para feridas crônicas. Okay, Professor, could you please introduce yourself?
Okay. I was first want to thank for the invitation. I am Professor Sonkusale. I am a professor of electrical and computer engineering at TUFS University. I'm also a professor of biomedical engineering, and for this current year I'm also a visiting scholar at the WIS Institute at Harvard and at the Harvard Medical School. And I'm going to sort of talk about some of the nanotechnology applications that we've been investigating in my lab with applications in healthcare and medicine.
Okay, very well. You can start your presentation.
Okay, so let me get started by sharing the screen. Let's see if I can share it. Share. Okay, let's see. 1 second.
Yes.
Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes. Yes, to the diagnostics. Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. So I am going to okay, one more time. Okay, so I'm going to basically talk about a very specific application of a project in my group. This is related to flexible bioelectronics, and we call this research threat diagnostics. What I mean by that is we try to make sensors, we try to make electronic devices, we try to make microfluidic devices and drug delivery devices to fill the form factor of a thread. You know, the thread that goes into your clothes, the textile, the same thread. We want to basically see if we can make interesting devices using it. And that is one of the main theme of the research. So the research in my group is sort of motivated by this big problem. Let me move the screen a little bit down. Um, and one of the major problems today is to be able to monitor our health. And not just our health, we also want to be able to monitor our environment. And so, because the environment that we live in affects our health, and so it makes sense for us to be able to sense, respond, and manage our health and environment in real time. When I say monitoring the environment, I mean monitoring your air pollution, water pollution, your food, and so on. And when I say monitoring your health, I mean all the things that affect your health, like your sleep, like your physical activity. But more importantly, these days we want to be able to monitor some chronic conditions, diabetes and obesity and asthma. These are increasing in the developing world and the developed world, and we want to be able to know what's going on. So more or less the research in my group is to sort of link the two, and while linking the two is only possible if we can make some sensors, some diagnostic devices that can basically monitor the environment and health. And we call this whole field smart and connected health. And in our group, this is made possible by the advances in flexible biotechnology. Of course, this is a lot of topics to talk about, but I'll focus on just one because the goal here is to sort of convey how advances in nanotechnology and some of the advances in micro and nano fabrication is making it possible to do this. And so I'm going to pick the problem of chronic wounds. A chronic wound is a big problem, especially with diabetes. There is an increasing prevalence of diabetic foot ulcers. Now these ulcers are essentially wounds that are really deep and ones that do not heal. And the reason why they do not heal is because of the complications, the medical complications associated with diabetes. It is known that one of the biggest problems of diabetic wounds is the fact that it gets infected. And once it gets infected, 25% of those infected chronic wounds actually lead to amputation. So this is a really big problem, major medical problem around the world, not just in the US.
Yes, I think this statistical data is very important to demonstrate the importance of this kind of research.
Yes, yeah, it is very important to understand that some of these things require advances in science and technology to tackle them. And so that's why we took this problem. And when we started working on this problem, we formed a team, and the team included myself from TUFS University. There were researchers from Purdue University, and there were researchers at Harvard Medical School. And we proposed a solution to this problem, and the solution to this problem was flexible smart wound dressing. And what does it mean? I mean, it is basically a dressing that monitors whether your wound is healing. If you have a diabetic foot ulcer, it's monitoring whether it's getting infected, whether you need some kind of treatment. And if you need treatment, it already has some drugs in there. It already has some growth factors. It already has oxygen delivery, and it can do drug delivery on demand. It has both sensors and delivery built into these bandages. If you look at this figure, you will see that on the top right is an actual platform showing you a two-patch solution. One patch, which is in contact with the wound, has the sensors. It also has the drugs. And there is electronics that is sitting next to it that controls the bandage, which has the sensors and the drug delivery. So this is a finished device, and this project was just recently concluded and was published in the journal SMART. And we've made many different versions of bandages. Some bandages that sense different biomarkers, whether the wound is healing, like oxygen, like temperature, like pH, like inflammation. But in some other cases, we also were able to deliver drugs, like growth factors, oxygen, and so on. But what I'm going to show you is a combined wound dressing, the one that has both the delivery and the sensing. Interestingly, the electronics here does everything you need. It actually communicates with the sensors, it can wirelessly transmit to the phone, and it can communicate power if you need power. In this case, we had a battery, but you can also wirelessly transmit power, just like the cell phone today that gets charged wirelessly. So this is a very interesting platform because you can imagine that a person who has a diabetic foot ulcer, if his bandage goes home, does not have to see the doctor because it's wirelessly transmitting all the information you need about the wound, whether it's healing in real time, to the doctor through this wireless connectivity.
Please, how to do this in real time?
It does it in real time, yes. You can transmit the information in real time. There will be an app on the phone that you can check what happened in the last few hours. And it is, again, this is not a problem that changes very quickly. It is a slow problem. So it is okay if the doctor takes his own time during the day to look at whether your wound is healing. So if something is bad, then the doctor can call you and say, why don't you come in? I want to look at your wound. I want to change your wound. I want to do something different. It is much better than not having a bandage. And you are sitting at home and the wound gets really bad. And the only solution is to amputate your feet, which is a much worse solution. So this is a much better, because the doctor is in complete awareness of what is going on.
Okay.
So here this is a very scientifically detailed slide. What I want you to focus on is the sensors. This is just showing you the sensors on the top left. You see these are very flexible sensors. And the sensors consist of, it's an electrochemical sensor. What I mean by that is that there is some electrochemical reaction happening at the electrode, where the electrochemical reaction depends on what you're trying to sense. So here what we have are these sensing electrodes. This is made of carbon electrodes and PANI. PANI stands for polyaniline. The polyaniline nanofibers are essentially redox sensitive. Redox sensitive means they're electrochemically sensitive to the pH, to the acidity of the wound. So when you put this in contact with the wound, if the wound is not healing, its acidity is different. Of course, acidity is not the only marker of whether the wound is bad, but it is one of the several markers. So you can use this to sense whether the wound is acidic or not, basic or not, because a good wound which is healing properly follows a certain pH profile. It basically goes up, then goes down, and then comes back. But if you are chronic wound, it basically goes up and essentially just locks itself in a chronic inflammation phase. So you want to monitor that fluctuation in pH because it will tell you about whether this is healing. So these are the sensors. They're very flexible and they're made without using any cleaning. This is a very inexpensive process. It's just like screen printing. So you take an ink that is made of carbon polyaniline, you make a stencil, and once you put the stencil on top of this substrate, which can be any flexible substrate. So we use polyethylene tetracrylate, which is PET, and we screen print this, and you make these sensors. So again, this is showing you that you can sense pH. It is also showing you here in this sub-figure F, it is showing you these gold interconnected patterns. That basically is a heating coil. Why do we heat? Because the drugs that we have in our system are something that respond to temperature. I'll show you in the next slide how they respond.
Okay, but you have the price for one of this one.
Yes. So you want the pricing?
Yeah.
Well, so very interesting. These are devices that use carbon, silver ink in very small quantities. It does not use clean rooms. So I can tell you the material cost. Material cost will be of the order of few cents, the US currency. It's not very expensive to make these one single electrode. So of course the cost of making it and the market economics will decide the final price, but the cost of making it, the materials and supplies, is actually not that much.
Okay, you can continue.
Yeah, so I was telling you how we had these gold interconnected wires that are used for heating, and what we are heating are these little micron sized spheres, these beads that contain drug. Now they can contain any drug you want. So this is a very specific kind of polymeric particle called NIFAM. NIFAM are thermally sensitive. So the figure A is showing you how they look at 25 degrees. The figure C is showing you how they look at 36 degrees. So if you heat them, they shrink. And when they shrink, they basically ooze out or release all the drugs contained inside them. So this is how we do programmed release of drugs. We carry the drug inside these particles and then we heat them using that coil that I showed you in the previous slide. Right? So once you heat these particles, they will release the drug. At the bottom, we use some fluorescent dyes so that you can see this drug release. And it may not be very clear in this Skype session, but when you do not release, the fluorescence is inside the bead, but when you release, the fluorescence spread out. So you know. Another interesting thing you see is in this figure H, you can control precisely how much drug is going in. And the reason you know that is you can cycle. You can basically apply a pulse modulated waveform. For a small time you turn on the heat and then you cool down for a long time. So depending on how much for how long you heat these particles, you will basically get corresponding amount of drug release. So this is sort of a demonstration that you can electron positively thermally control the drug release. So think about this as an application. If a doctor is far away and you are wearing this bandage, if the doctor thinks that it is important that you get this antibiotic right now, all he has to do is send a command over the internet to your phone. The phone communicates with the bandage and turns on the heater. The doctor doesn't have to be there to apply the medication. It was already there in your bandage, and he's releasing it on demand when he thinks that some kind of antibiotic treatment, some other kind of growth factor treatment is necessary.
Okay, this kind of control work very well.
Pardon me?
This kind of control to delivery functioned very well.
It was not very clear, but if you are understanding, yeah, there is some kind of control. Yeah, so you can be controlled. You can program it on the phone to release it at prescribed times during the day, so that you don't have to open, when you have to apply something to the wound, you have to open the bandage and then apply something, right? And that is a painful procedure to remove the bandage and apply.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's already, the bandage is already closed. Nobody is opening it, nobody even knows what's happening. The doctor can just say 3 times a day, apply these antibiotics. And the antibiotic will just go during those times.
Okay.
At the same time, the doctor can also see that it's not healing. He can wirelessly change the prescription. He can say, apply 5 times a day, and you are doing this without even opening the bandage. So that is the luxury of this wireless delivery of bandage, wireless control. Does it make sense?
Yes. So you have to have interaction with the doctor, so much interaction in the day or in the treatment.
Yeah, there is less interaction here because there is the doctor's time and nurse time is very valuable. So you don't want to be continuously looking at patient when there is no complication or if it's too late. So you can send the patient home, right? Or you can, and the person only needs to come back when the bandage is old and you need to change the bandage or something serious has happened. But otherwise, the doctor doesn't have to be involved. And that is a good thing, especially in developing countries with people living in faraway places.
Yeah.
It's hard for them to come by to the doctor every time because they have work to do or there's something else to do. It is important that the technologies catch up with the needs of the people, right? So in some ways, this is very much in tune with and that is one of the reasons why diabetic ulcers go untreated and people get amputated is because of the lifestyle they live. They have busy lifestyle, they don't pay attention to the wound. So some kind of remote monitoring, wireless delivery is the exact sort of thing that is needed to sort of improve the health outcome.
Okay, your day continues.
Okay, so I'm not going to go into this scientific experiment that is shown here. All I want to say is we also tested This is not testing in real animals or real people because that requires a lot of approval, but we did test it in a wound model. So we create this model of a wound that is infected with bacteria, and then we test whether our sensing and our delivery works. So what we did here is we basically let the wound get infected. This is not a real wound on a person, this is just an artificial wound. And we let it get infected, and as it gets infected, the pH drops. That is evident in figure G. The pH keeps dropping. If we do not do anything, the pH will go down to around 6.5 and will stay there, stay acidic. But if you activate drug release, so basically what we mean by activation is by heating up that. And here we actually had vancomycin, one of the antibiotics, and we basically kill the bacteria. As you kill the bacteria, the pH recovers. So this is showing you that you can basically have a closed loop control. You can sense and deliver treatment. This was one of the first demonstrations that actually had this closed loop sensing and delivery kind of a platform. Now again, if you ask me what went into this, what went into this are these screen printing, these low-cost processes to make these sensors and these drug-loaded microparticles, and a very simple electronic device that is off the shelf to make it happen. Okay, so this is basically a smart bandage. What I want to do now is change gears into something what I call thread diagnostics. And the reason why I want to talk about will be clear in a minute. Okay. So I want to talk about the smart thread, and this is basically the vision. Okay, so I just told you about chronic wounds, right? But think about chronic wounds. Chronic wounds are very deep. Some of these wounds are really deep. So if you want to understand what is happening into the wound, you have to go deeper into the tissue, and that will not be possible even if the sensors are flexible. You need something more flexible. So what we came up with is this idea that we can use something similar to the thread, something similar to a fiber that goes in making our clothes and make them smart. So what we envision is, imagine that you have these threads. The threads are deep into the tissue and they are sampling and sensing what's happening in the wound. And at the same time, they are performing all kinds of electronic readout and communication and sensing all on a thread substrate. And so this was published a couple of years ago in this journal Nature Microsystems and Nanoengineering. And so let me just quickly go through this without spending so much time on the details here first. So smart sensing threads, so these are the same threads, but they are smart in the sense that they have sensors in them that can monitor pH, which is acidity, they can monitor temperature, they can monitor moisture, inflammation, and all other parameters of wound in real time, so you can detect the onset of infection. The reason why we like threads can go where nothing else can. You can take a needle and a thread and literally stitch the wound up, and that thread will sense what's happening to the stitch. It can also be interwoven with any wound dressing, and also threads come in many different properties. You can make them hydrophobic, hydrophilic, so on and so forth. And then you can also make a smart electronics button that interacts with the sensors. Now this is a similar platform to the bandage I showed. The only difference here is the sensors are made and the microfluidics and all the functions are in the form factor of a very flexible thread type structure. So this is how we make these sensing threads. So this is a very top level view. This view is basically a very simple process. What we do is we start with a spool of raw thread and we dip the thread in different things. Each ring is a nanomaterial ring which is sensitive to something. So in our case, for example, let's say you want to make the same pH sensor that I showed you earlier, which had carbon nanotubes and polyaniline. You can just take your thread and dip it in the ink that has carbon nanotubes and polyaniline, right? And then once you dip it, then you dry it. You can also have a second layer of ink on top of that. And basically what we do is we just do this weave to weave, roll to roll, dip coating and drying. So threads are still flexible. They are still thin. They are not thick. They can be stitched. They can be coated on different materials. They can be combined to make it electronic. So let me show you some pictures of these threads, how they look when you use the electron microscope. This is just a very high resolution microscope that can let you see down to few microns, like 100 to 1000 of the human width they have. right, with human hair. So this is a raw cotton thread that looks like fibrous, and when you coat them with carbon nanotubes, you get this figure C, and you can see in the inset, this is a reel-to-reel carbon nanotube coated thread. You can coat it with polyaniline, you can coat it with carbon, you can coat it with carbon and polyaniline. And we did a lot of these sensors. So let me just show you some of the sensors we made. And again, this will have some scientific data, but the theme will be clear. Okay, so this particular slide shows that we can make pH sensing threads. Imagine the threads that you're carrying can sense the pH. So what I need to do if I want to sense the wound is to take this thread, put it inside the wound bed, and as it is absorbing and as the wound exudate is being wicked through the thread, it can be brought outside where there is a pH sensing thread trying to sense the quality, right? And you can have a small electronics button sitting right next to it that can actually transfer. What this figure also shows you is the fact that you can distribute this wound exudate, the wound exudate meaning the liquid that is there in the wound bed, into different sensors using the threads. So the threads that we use can also serve as microfluidic channels. So these are showing you curves that show that they're very sensitive. We can also make glucose sensing threads. These are not single threads, these are a combination of 3 threads. So again, you can take your regular thread, coat them with carbon nanotubes and glucose oxidase, which is an enzyme that reduces, when there is glucose in there, and enzyme catalyzes and generates hydrogen peroxide and detect that. And so this basically allows you to measure glucose. So these kind of thread sensors can also be used by diabetic patients, right? Because the glucose sensing thread can be used for measuring glucose. So it's the same chemistry, but used in the form factor of a thread substrate. You can also make something called a strain sensor. A strain sensor is not a chemical sensor. A strain sensor means you can sense how much you stretch a given material. So this is showing you a strain sensing thread. So I'm not going to go into detail. If you're interested, I can go into the depth. But again, we can make things that can actually sense. You can also sense temperature using threads. Right? So as we are talking, you're getting an idea that threads are very versatile as a substrate for making sensors, for chemical things, for physical things, and so on. And I was telling you that you can connect this to an electronics button. This is just the off-the-shelf component that you can connect the threads to this button. And then you have an entire platform, the entire thread diagnostic platform that can sense, wirelessly process, and wirelessly communicate, just like this platform. So these are showing you some results of what we did. We actually did animal tests with these threads. So we took some pH sensing threads, and what we did 2 kinds of measurements. One measurement is we did just underneath the skin. So this is a suture, when a surgical suture, you want to make sure it's not infected. So the way to do that is can we measure the acidity in the contact with the stitch. And so this stitch, the smart stitch, can monitor whether the acidity of the wound using pH sensor. In this application, we also send something deep inside the stomach. So this is a gastric measurement of the pH, and this is useful for many other applications. This is an application for strain sensing. So we literally use the strain sensing thread to see whether the wound is sealed. If the wound is sealed, the strain felt by the strain sensing thread is different than when the wound is open. So you can distinguish whether the wound is healing using these strain sensing threads. We also did drug delivery using threads, just like we did drug delivery before. We also coated these threads with different drug delivery entities, the same thermoresponsive particles that we had before. We actually coated them with this. So this particular slide is showing you that we can do the same thing. We can change the current, apply the voltage, pass the current, heat it up, and then once you heat up, those particles will release the drug. And that drug release profile is shown here. You can see how step-like function you can generate. So this is showing you the release rate can be precisely controlled. You can also decide how much drug is being released by controlling the number of threads that are being connected to the root. We also did some diabetic mice studies with these threads. So in this particular case, we took these drug-loaded threads and connected them to a diabetic mice. So these are mice where the wounds do not heal. And in this particular example, we basically deliver the growth factor, vascular endothelial growth factor that promotes vascularization of tissue underneath and heals the wound faster. So when we compare the VEGF patch, which is on the right here, it heals much faster than a control patch where there is no VEGF. So the whole story here is that you can actually make these threads that can do the same kind of things that I showed earlier and deliver. We also have some other applications, and I'm going to go show you, and then that'll be done. Basically, we also can make threads that can sense sweat. So imagine you want to sense the electrolytes in your sweat, whether you're hydrated enough. So this is an application where we took a Band-Aid and we basically made electrochemical sensors on threads. So if you're an athlete, if you are some kind of also in medical applications, we're trying to monitor whether the person has enough electrolytes in the system, you can use these sweat sensing patches with these sensing threads to monitor that. We can also do gas sensing, and there is another application. You can make threads sensitive to the environmental gases. And so these are optical sensing threads, which means that they change color when you expose them to pollution. Remember in the beginning, I showed you that one of the main motivation of the work is not just to monitor your health, but also the environment. So this is one of the applications of threads to monitor the environment, is to see how much pollution you are exposed to. And so this is showing you an entire system of different color changing threads. You expose them to different gases and they change color. Okay. So what else are we doing with the threads? We've made antennas, we are trying to make transistors, and people have tried to do that, but not in a very systematic way. So we are trying to do that in our group. And we are also trying to make circuits with some energy source and energy capacity. So with that, I just want to thank the students and postdocs who worked on this. So all research is highly collaborative. We have to collaborate inside our department, inside our school, inside our university, but also outside the university. So we have collaborators in Harvard, Purdue, and so on, to basically make these projects happen. And so I just want to leave with this conclusion that threads, essentially sensing threads coated with nanomaterials, can offer a versatile and rich platform for realization of medical devices, for sensing, microfluidics delivery and electronics. All I showed you was chronic wound monitoring and controlled drug delivery, but there are many other applications like gas sensing. And so I do believe that going forward, possibilities are endless for thread-based flexible bioelectronics platform. The work was sponsored by many researchers here in the US, and so I just want to thank you.
Okay, Professor. Congratulations for your research, for you, for your team. I think it's very important, this kind of research. So I am not a specialist in this kind of research. So I don't have questions in deep for you. I have some questions, some general questions. Okay? One general question is about the costs. How is the cost to do this kind of research?
Oh, the cost to do research?
Yeah.
So, not the cost to make the device. Okay?
No, the make the device is the second question.
Okay. So this is a question more addressed towards the cost of doing research in the United States. So it has more to do with the research. Every country is different at how they're funding. Most of the cost in doing research goes in two things. One is people, graduate student researchers, postdocs, their salaries required to promote the research activity. Second is access to equipment, right? So if you look at the research that we are doing, we wanted to make sure that we are not using very expensive equipment. Most of the techniques we do are very standard, outside the clean room, bench, very simple chemistry lab should be able to do it. So the cost of making it is very simple, but the cost of characterization, you require a SEM, you require microscopes, you require all these fancy instruments to be able to see it. So I would say there is a cost of acquiring them, but that is the cost of the whole facility. So somewhere in the Boston area where I am at, there there is a core facility here that we access, so there is no cost associated or very little cost associated with the core facility. Most of the cost for us is the people that are actually doing the work and research on this project.
Okay, and the device.
So the device itself are very low cost. That is one of the common theme in anything I do in my research group. Of course, there are many people who do many different sides of research, but in my group we are motivated. We call this frugal engineering. It is very important to us that we make things that are environmentally friendly, that are environmentally sustainable, that are low cost, and we like to call this do-it-yourself diagnostic. Anything that I have presented here you should be able to do it wherever you are with very little resources, right? Of course, you need a little bit of resources to be able to pipette a known quantity of material, but other than that, screen printing, having a small oven to basically cure some of these reel-to-reel dip coating processes, these do not require expensive instrumentation. The devices are very low cost. I would say the cost of making each individual bandage that is in contact with the wound is definitely less than $1. It's definitely not more than $1 bandage.
And you have the patent of this kind of device?
Yes, we have many different patents on different aspects of this technology, and we don't have a patent, we have a disclosure, we filed the patent application.
And there is some companies that are interested in to produce.
Yes, very much so. I've been in contact with many different companies who are interested either in licensing some aspects of our technology, and some of the companies would want to work with us, collaborate with us, to basically develop some of the technologies even further. And it is interesting how these companies are looking at this research not from the exact thing that I've presented to you, but they are actually interested in one particular aspect of it. And for them, that is promising enough. And I like that a lot because, you have an opportunity here to do research, and different aspects of research can be used independently in different product ideas. So yes, there is a lot of interest.
And the product will be in the marketing in how long time?
Well, I am not in the business of making a product. We do have interest from these companies, and I believe that different aspects of these research, like making a sensor or making a drug delivery device, one of those will hit the market within a couple of years. But the entire smart bandage platform, the entire thing that I presented, might take a much longer, because if you're dealing with deep wounds, you are looking at a lot of regulatory approval process, a lot of human trials, and that requires time. So, but individual technologies, individual engineering components of these will definitely be used in different products, in the near future.
Another general question: what is the importance of the nanotoxicology for this kind of research?
Very, very important. That's a very good question. I may have lost to the slide, but every time we do research, we collaborated with someone who understands biology, microbiology, cell and tissue culture, and tissue engineering. And what we did is we took our bandages and we first made sure that they are not toxic. So there is a cell viability study, there's a cell viability assay, there's a tissue viability assay that we run all these assays to make sure that the bandages are safe. And that's the reason why we need human trials at some point, animal trials and human trials. The FDA will not, the regulatory bodies that approve drugs and devices will not allow this to market until we finish the detailed toxicology studies of the nanomaterials, or not the nanomaterials, the whole thing. And so that's very, very important. It's a very good question.
And you use for this some computer simulation?
Pardon me?
If you use in this kind of the nanotoxicology research some computer simulation?
We haven't thought of that. The computer simulation model, if the models are accurate, then one can think of it, but we have not come across anything that would help us study this with simulations.
Okay, and finally, what is the bottleneck in this kind of research?
What is the what?
The bottleneck.
I didn't get that. Can you clarify in another way?
Okay, the bottleneck.
Bottom next?
Yeah, neck. Bottleneck.
Oh, bottleneck. Okay, sorry, I got that wrong. Okay, the bottleneck in this research or in this device?
Also, but for devices and for research.
Yeah, bottleneck. Okay, one thing. Okay, the problem is very important. You know, the problem of chronic wounds and diabetes and wound healing is one of the big problems in medicine. So I tend not to think of issues and challenges that are not there yet. I mean, so far we haven't seen any sort of limitations to our approach. I believe that when we go to animal and human trials, we will see some bottlenecks. We haven't seen any. Because this is a very problem, this is a solution that is driven by the problem. Right? The problem is in front of us, we want to see if we can solve the problem. And the solution that we have presented so far has been able to solve the problems that we had in front of us. So bottleneck might definitely may come as we are approaching human trials. Now if you ask me the challenges, I can tell you about the challenges.
Yes.
So the challenges in the design of flexibility. You know, you're doing a wound, you're making a smart bandage. You want to make things flexible. So that's why when you look at our device, the first part of the talk I showed in this bandage, you see it was in two parts. There was an electronics part that was hard, that was not in contact with it. And there was a flexible part, which is the sensors and drug delivery that was in contact with the wound. So that was the engineering solution to solve the challenge of flexibility needed in the wound dressing. So you look at the problem, you see that it needs to be flexible, the wounds come in different sizes. The solution was split the two. Keep the hard portions of your bandages separate from soft portions. Again, flexibility. We added the flexibility issues. There are many different techniques for drug delivery. The choice of using the heater coil and a thermally responsive drug delivery was because we could make it flexible. So flexible bioelectronics, maintain flexibility, biocompatibility, these were the challenges that we tried to address to make the device that we have. But they're not the bottleneck. We were able to solve those problems. So they're just basically challenges that we managed to overcome.
Yes, many companies of cellular tell for us that near future we will have a cellular flexible.
Yeah, there's a lot of interest in flexible electronics, yes, from many different companies in different aspects of it, not just wound dressing.
Yes. So, thank you so much for your interview with this subject of research that I think is very important to increase the knowledge in this field.
Thank you for having me. I think I enjoyed talking to you, and I hope this excites a lot more people to pursue science and engineering, and especially nanotechnology going forward.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you.